Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of Turkish Republic, who abolished the centuries-old Ottoman Empire in 1924, is a prominent figure of history. While his achievements on the battlefield are well known, but his actions as a leader are popular as well as controversial. In this video, we will explore his role as president in an unbiased manner. To watch this interesting video till the end. When the Turkish Republic was established in 1923, Ataturk and his revolutionaries faced challenging ideologies of his time, which were fascism, communism, and supporters of old caliphate system. He was able to protect his nation from these totalitarian ideologies by launching a mass-scale arrest and censorship in 1927, known as 1927 detentions, and it was in a one-party de facto regime in 1995 after the adoption of 1924 Constitution. The only political party of the Grand National Assembly was People's Party of Ataturk. The abolition of caliphate was met with fierce opposition from conservative advocates. However, Ataturk said, the religion of Islam may be elevated if it will cease to be a political instrument, as had been the case in the past. Ataturk aimed to integrate the powers of caliphate into the GNA's powers, and with the consent of his colleagues, the caliphate was abolished on 3rd March 1924. Following the abolition of the caliphate, Ataturk and his reformist allies made extensive efforts to separate government and religious affairs. One of the primary targets was the education system. In 1923, there were three types of educational systems in Turkey. The most common were madrasas, which focused on Arabic, the Quran, and memorization. The second type of education were Ibadi and Sultani, which were the reformist school of the Tanzimat era, and ended with the first constitution adoption in 1876. The last group included colleges and minority schools that used the latest teaching models to educate pupils. Ataturk sought to modernize the old madrasa education and promote a vigorously reconstructed educational system. He believed that educational demands were crucial for the liberation of the nation from dogmas and declared that national education affairs were the most important and productive task of the day. To achieve his vision, Ataturk invited American educational reformer John Levy to Ankara in the summer of 2024 to advise him on how to reform Turkish education. Ataturk aimed to prepare citizens for the role in public life through increasing public literacy and instituted compulsory primary education for both girls and boys, a task that has continued in the public to this day. He emphasized the importance of raising a generation that is nourished with what he called public culture and established a common curriculum for all state schools, known as the unification of education. The law on unification of education was enacted on 3rd March 1924, which made education inclusive and organized on a model of civil community. Under this new design, all schools submitted their curriculum to the Ministry of National Education. At the same time, the Republic made clergy subordinate to the Department of Religious Affairs, laying the foundations of secularism in Turkey. While the unification of education ended the influence of clerics of the Ottoman Empire, it did not mean the end of religious schools in Turkey. They were moved to higher education until relative governments restored them to their former position to secondary education after Ataturk's death. During Ataturk's study, the Ottoman Turkish language written in Arabic script with Arabic and Persian breviary was in use. John Deeney estimated that it took about 3 years to learn how to read and write Turkish in the Arabic script. In the spring of 1928, Ataturk met with several linguistics and professors from all over Turkey to discuss his plans to implement a new alphabet for the written Turkish based on a modified Arabic alphabet. The new Turkish alphabet was designed to replace the old Arabic script, which was too complex, making it difficult to learn. The Language Commission undertook the creation of the new alphabet with Ataturk's initiative. On 1st November 1928, Ataturk introduced the new Turkish alphabet and abolished the use of the Arabic script. The first Turkish newspaper using the new alphabet was published on 15th December 1928. Starting in autumn of 1925, Ataturk initiated a modern European attire for the Turkish people. He was resolute in ending the sartorial customs of the Middle East and completing a series of terrorist reforms that had begun with Mahmud II. The Fez had been introduced by Sultan Mahmud II in 1826 as part of the Ottoman Empire's modernization initiative. The Had Law of 1925 replaced the Fez with Western style hats. In 1924, he passed a law called the Law Related to Prohibited Garments, which was set on promoting modern Western suits with neckties, fedora, and derby-style hats, rather than traditional religious-based clothing such as veil and turban. Although he personally endorsed modern dress for women, Ataturk did not include any specific reference to women's clothing in the law, as he believed that women would voluntarily adopt new clothing styles. He was fitted photographed with his wife, who wore a head covering in accordance with Islamic tradition. He was also frequently photographed with women who wore modern Western clothing during public appearances. However, it was Ataturk's adopted daughters who provided a true example of modern style for Turkish women. He stated, "The religious covering of women will not cause difficulty. This simple style of head covering is not in conflict with the moralistic manner of our society." In 1924, Kurdish tribal chief Sheikh Said organized the Sheikh Said Rebellion during the issue of Mosul negotiations. He opposed the government's anti-Islamic policies, including the abolition of caliphate, civil codes based on Western models, and closure of religious orders, the ban on polygamy, and the new obligatory civil marriage. His followers seized government offices and marched on foreign cities, promoting the government to invoke the law for maintenance of order. In March 1925, to deal with the rebellion, this gave the government exceptional powers, including the authority to shut down the worst state groups, and was repealed in March 1927. In 1926, a plot to assassinate Ataturk was uncovered in Samira, leading to a specific investigation that was used to undermine those who disagreed with Ataturk's Cultural Revolution. The main opposition party, known as Progressive Republican Party, was dissolved following the investigation findings of a link between the party and the Sheikh Said Rebellion. Years following 1926, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk introduced a series of reforms that marked a radical departure from the Ottoman Empire's previous practices. He separated Islamic law from secular law, confining it to matters of religion, an unprecedented move in history. Ataturk believed that it was necessary to free the concepts of justice, legal institutions, and laws from the outdated practices that were incompatible with modern society. To that end, he passed a new Turkish penal code, modeled after the Tahrim one, on March 1st, 1996, and Sharia courts on 4th October 1926. New Turkish Civil Code was passed in 1926, modeled after Swiss Civil Code, which granted women equality with men in matters such as inheritance and divorce. Ataturk viewed education as a critical component of women's liberation. He stated that if women did not participate in this social life of the nation, Turkey will remain backward. Ataturk believed that culture was the foundation of the Turkish Republic. He initiated extensive research on the pre-Islamic culture of the Turks, and he emphasized the importance of Anatolian civilizations, such as Phrygians, Lydians, Sumerians, and Hittites. He named banks such as Human Bank and Adi Bank to attract public attention to past culture. Ataturk stressed the importance of the folk art of the countryside as a wellspring of Turkish creativity. When the modern Republic of Turkey was founded in 1953, two of the key founding principles were nationalism and secularism. To achieve this, Ataturk's government implemented policies of Turkification and nationalization. For example, the Citizens Speak Turkish Nothing initiative in 1930s specialized non-Turkish speakers to speak Turkish in public. Another example of nationalization was the surname law, which replaced Turkish citizens to adopt fixed hereditary surname and prohibited most of foreign cultures, nations, and tribes or religions. This policy led many ethnic Armenians, Greeks, and Kurds to change their surname. Additionally, non-Turkish geographical names within Turkey were replaced with Turkish names. Throughout his adult life, Ataturk had a known habit of consuming alcohol and tobacco, regularly consuming about half a liter of raki per day and smoking cigarettes. In 1937, signs of deteriorating health started to emerge, and in early 1938, while on trip to Yalova, he fell seriously ill. He was taken to Istanbul for treatment, where he was diagnosed with cirrhosis from the liver. Despite his illness, he made a concerted effort to maintain his regular habits and lifestyle. However, his condition eventually worsened, and on 10th November 1938, at the age of 57, he passed away in the the Dolmabahce Palace. In 1951, the Turkish parliament, under the control of the Democrat Party, led by Prime Minister Adnan Menderes, passed a law known as Law on Crimes to Recognize Ataturk. This law made it illegal to insult the memory of Ataturk or damage or destroy objects that represent him. Ataturk did not always appear to victim of his actions, but Ataturk supported the ideals of building a civil society. Ataturk emphasized the importance of democracy in one of his speeches in 1933, saying that the republic should enforce all requirements of democracy. As the time goes on, regardless of your view on Ataturk, you cannot doubt his sincerity, as he once said, "My mortal body will turn into dust, but the Republic of Turkey will last forever."